Joining us now to discuss the United Nations and this past year, we're joined by Jeffrey Sachs, President of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network and Director at the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University. Jeffrey, welcome to the program. How does the United Nations stay relevant when the world seems powerless to stop this ongoing nightmare in Gaza?
Well, the UN is more relevant than ever because it brings together the entire world, the whole global community, which is shouting right now, stop this war. In the most recent vote in the UN General Assembly, all countries except 4 called for Palestinian self-determination, just 4. And this was the United States, Israel, Nauru, and Micronesia. So the United Nations is the place where the world community is speaking. So far, the United States has sided and provided daily the munitions for Israel in what is a massacre in Gaza. But the world is shouting, this must stop. And I believe that the voice of the United Nations is going to prevail very soon.
Jeffrey, is part of the problem within the UN Security Council the veto power among the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, and these issues were basically equitable representation?
Well, of course, the Security Council can be blocked by one veto. The United States is exercising that veto either in an outright veto or implicitly by forcing others not to put resolutions forward that the United States threatens to veto. But the fact of the U.S. diplomatic isolation, nearly complete right now, essentially Israel and the United States standing alone against the entire rest of the world, is going to force change. This is an untenable position for the U.S. government to be an accomplice to war crimes and to essentially a massacre taking place in Gaza before our eyes.
But Jeffrey, this isolation isn't really making a difference. We're still seeing this conflict go on. We're seeing staggering civilian deaths. The Israeli hostages have yet to be released. And Israel says it's hitting Hamas targets, and there's no indication that Hamas's military capabilities in any way have been damaged.
I agree with you completely. I think that's the right analysis. But I would just add one very important point. Israel has the most extremist right-wing government in its history. It probably won't stop. Many parts of this government simply want Israel to control all of the territory from the Mediterranean to the Jordan. They don't believe that Palestinians should have any rights or say, and many just want Palestinians to leave. But Israel cannot do this even for a single day without the backing of the United States. And the pressure on the United States is growing. First, it's growing outside because of nearly unanimous world opinion, but it's also growing inside because Biden's support internally is collapsing as well. The American people do not want to be an accomplice to this massacre.
So let me ask you this. The October 7th attack was the worst terror attack in Israel's history. In your opinion, Jeffrey, how should have the Israeli government responded to an attack that killed 1,200 of its Israeli citizens and ensued in this hostage-taking situation? What should have Israel done?
Israel has had decades to make peace with Palestine, and the UN has spoken repeatedly that there need to be 2 states living side by side. The Arab and Islamic world has spoken very clearly in recent days and recent weeks that they will have a normal relationship with Israel once there is a normal Palestinian state that has been called for repeatedly by the UN Security Council and by the UN General Assembly. The fact is, the tragic fact is, This extreme right-wing government in Israel doesn't want that. It's not aiming for that. It's aiming for something completely different, what they call Greater Israel. It is the specific policies of this government in Israel that it should have full political control over what today is Gaza and the West Bank. And when this government comes forward with or any Israeli government, the next one, comes forward with a true political solution, this fighting could end essentially immediately.
All right, we'll leave it there. Jeffrey Sachs, thank you so much.